The highway stretches out like a scar, endless, silent, and forgotten by most. But when the world sleeps, that road awakens. And the truckers who ride it, they've seen things, heard voices on dead channels, picked up passengers who weren't there the next time they checked the mirror. Some stories don't get told at truck stops. They're whispered into CB radios or buried in wreckage no one claims. Tonight, we open that logbook. These aren't legends. These are real encounters from the edge of the map, and you're about to hear them. You're watching Midnight Truths. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next time your headlights catch something that shouldn't be there, you'll want to remember what you heard here first. I've driven a truck for 23 years, seen more miles of road than most people will in a lifetime. Blizzards in Colorado, sinkholes in Missouri, and a tornado once chased me for 6 exits in Oklahoma. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has ever gotten under my skin like what happened near mile marker 232. And before you start wondering, yes, I'm sure of the number. Burned into my memory like the smell of diesel and old coffee. The funny thing is I've tried to go back to find it again. But every time I check a map, 232 isn't there. Not in any state. Not on any highway I've traveled. But I saw it 3 different times. 3 different places, and each time he was there. The first time was just outside of Idaho Falls. It was a Tuesday night, pitch black sky, and the kind of quiet that only hits after midnight. I was hauling refrigerated produce up to Seattle. I remember the cargo because the compressor was acting up, and I was already annoyed when I saw him, a man, standing just past the shoulder, close enough to be lit by my high beams. He wasn't waving, wasn't hitchhiking, just standing there, tall, gaunt, pale as hell. Looked like he was wearing old work clothes, maybe coveralls or something, but they didn't quite fit right. Almost like they were someone else's. He stared at the truck, eyes locked on me like he was waiting for something. I slowed down, not to stop, just to make sure I wasn't seeing things. When I passed him, his head turned with my cab. Not just a glance, a full, slow pivot, tracking me as I rolled by and then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was patient, like he knew something I didn't, like he'd seen me before. I checked my mirrors, nobody behind me. Looked ahead, no exits for miles, and when I looked back to the side, he was gone, just gone. No rustle in the grass, no footsteps. Like he'd been yanked off the side of the road by an invisible hook. I shook it off. Figured maybe it was just a drifter. Or I was tired. Drivers see things, sometimes long hauls will do that. But a week later, I saw him again. This time I was on Route 40 near Amarillo, Texas. Another night run, hauling livestock feed. Just got done talking to my wife on the phone, said goodnight, told her I'd be home by Sunday. That's when I saw the sign, mile marker 232, and there he was. Same guy, same clothes, same blank stare and twitch of a smile. This time I felt it, cold, and I don't mean the kind of cold from a sea or desert nights. I mean the kind of cold that gets into your bones, a stillness. Like everything around me had paused. My CB went dead. No static, no chatter. Just silence. Total humming silence. I sped up. Didn't even look at him when I passed. But I knew he was there. I could feel his eyes on me. Worse still, I felt him smiling. Like he was closer this time. Closer than the roadside. Like he was moving. Next morning, I tried to brush it off again. Told myself maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe I'd read the marker wrong. Except. I checked my dash cam footage, and there was no mile marker 232. The video showed 231. Then 233. No sign of the guy either. Like it had been scrubbed. That's when I started keeping a notebook. Writing down every strange thing I saw. Not just ghosts or creepy hitchhikers. Anything off. People talking backwards at rest stops. Gas pumps that reset before I touched them. Dogs that watched me, unmoving, from the center of the road. The third time I saw him was the worst. I was on a stretch of road in western Pennsylvania. Route 219. I knew I shouldn't be out there. It was back roads, old, narrow, and barely lit. But a GPS reroute put me there after a traffic jam outside of Pittsburgh. Was about an hour deep into those woods when I saw it again. Mile marker 232 right there. Shining in the rain dot, and he was in the middle of the road this time. I hit the brakes hard. Truck skidded, tires squealing. He didn't move, didn't flinch, just stared. I laid on the horn. Nothing. I should have reversed. I should have done anything. But what I did next, I opened the door and stepped out. I don't know why. Curiosity, anger. Some part of me wanted to prove he was real, that I wasn't losing it. Hey, I shouted. You need help or something? He tilted his head. Nah. Like a person, like an animal. Like he was studying me. I took one step forward, and he vanished. Not walked away. Not ducked into the trees. Just gone. 1 second there, the next, the road was empty. I spun around, looked under the truck, across the ditch, even checked the woods with my flashlight. Nothing. But when I climbed back into the cab, that passenger door was unlatched, and my seatbelt was buckled. That's when I lost it. I floored it. Didn't stop for 2 straight hours. When I finally hit a rest stop, I searched the whole sleeper cabin with a tire iron in my hand. Nothing. No footprints, no wet marks, just the smell of old cologne. The kind my grandfather used to wear. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even shut the engine off, and I never took that road again. I've told the story to a few other drivers. Most just laugh it off. Blame it on sleep deprivation, bad weather, or just plain stress. But there's one guy, a buddy named Rick, who went real quiet when I brought it up. Told me real low. You saw the marker, ma'am, didn't you? I asked what he meant. He said, my uncle saw him too. Back in the 80s, same story, same number. And not just him, it's been around. A thing among old truckers. Most don't talk about it. But once you see him 3 times, he trailed off. I pressed him, and all he said was, you better hope he doesn't ride with you next. I've had dreams since then. Always the same. I'm driving through fog. The road is straight, the lines are clean, but there are no signs. No exits. No markers, just me. And him. He's in the passenger seat. Silent, looking ahead, smiling, I wake up drenched in sweat. Every time I've checked dozens of maps. No highway in the US has mile marker 232 3 times. Especially not in 3 different states, but I know. What I saw, and here's the worst part, last week I was headed up through Oregon. A route I hadn't taken before, it was late, raining, and as I leaned forward, squinting at the reflective green post up ahead, I saw the numbers flash by my window, 232. I didn't see him, not yet, but the cab light flickered, and my passenger seat, BELT, clicked into place. I'm not asking you to believe me. I don't care if you do, I just needed to tell it. To put it somewhere before it eats me alive. If you're a driver, if you're out there at night, on long stretches of road, and you see that number, don't stop, and for the love of God, don't look at him. I say first because this story came to me from a strange place buried deep in a pile of corrupted CB radio logs and scattered voicemail transcriptions. A collection pieced together from backup dispatch files that were never meant to be. Heard again, it's the story of Randy Whiskey Dog Mercer, an old-school hauler with 27 years behind the wheel, who disappeared in 2019 during a simple freight run through Nebraska. No crash. No wreckage. No Randy. but his last hour on the road was caught in fragments through audio logs, CB chatter, and one voicemail that was never meant to send. What follows is a chilling reconstruction. What you're about to hear was never meant to be played. Back, CB audio log begins, timestamp, 11:13 p.m. This is Whiskey Dog Rollin, eastbound on 80, just outside Kearney. Not much traffic tonight. Cold as hell though, feels like something's watching. Hey, probably just the damn moon again. If anyone's out there, holler back. Pause to 12 seconds of silence. No ears on the line, huh? Guess it's just me and the road then. The first sign of trouble came about 40 minutes later. Dispatch received a garbled transmission from Randy that was mostly static, but a few words cut through. Not right passenger side mirror, it's not mine. What he meant by it's not mine wasn't clear. But whatever he saw in that mirror, it wasn't his reflection. The next log was clearer. This one came from Randy's own rig recorder. Some drivers install them to record thoughts, rants, or reminders during long runs. Driver log, 11:58 p.m. All right. Okay, something's off. Got the sky truck bin behind me for 20 miles. Lights keep dimming in and out like he's flickering. That's the word, flickering. Never seen that before. I slowed down. So did he. I sped up. Same. He's not trying to pass. He's just there. 4-second pause. I checked my rear cam. Nothing. No truck. No lights. But I can still see them in the mirror. Like he's only there if I don't look straight at him. What the hell is that? At 12:06 a.m., Randy left a voicemail on his daughter's phone. She was asleep. The message wasn't heard until 2 days after he was reported missing. Voicemail transcript, 12:06 a.m. Hey, sweetie. Not sure why I'm calling. Guess I just needed to hear your voice. I think I picked something up, not cargo. Something else. Like I invited something into the cab. Don't laugh, all right? But I saw something in the mirror. And now I can't shake the feeling it climbed inside. Breath catches, voice drops. Have you ever felt like your skin doesn't fit right? Like someone else is wearing it with you? That's how I feel right now. 3 seconds of silence. I think it's sitting behind me. Call ends. What makes this more than just a creepy recording is what happens next. At 12:14 a.m. Randy got back on the CB radio. But this time, something was ... wrong. Other drivers on the same frequency that night said it didn't sound like him, not fully. A younger voice, slurred but calm. Like someone trying to imitate Randy. And almost getting it right, CB audio to 12:14 a.m. This is Whiskey Dog, correction. This is ... Randy, eastbound, mile 274, conditions clear, cargo irrelevant, passenger present. Silence, breathing, then laughter, not Randy's. Not alone anymore. Then the voice shifted. Not in pitch, but in rhythm. More formal, robotic. There are 13 markers between Kearney and Lincoln. We're currently between 12 and 11. The next message will transmit in 33 minutes. No one knew what that meant. No one could find any explanation for the so-called 13 markers. But by then, dispatch was trying to call Randy directly. They never got through at 12:36 a.m. His onboard mic picked up another entry. By this point, Randy's breathing had changed. It was slower. Measured, like he was holding himself still. Driver log, 12:36 a.m. Okay. I pulled over. Had to. I'm at a rest stop near mile 261. There's no one here, but I keep hearing movement, like someone's pacing around the truck, not running. Just walking clockwise, always clockwise. Every few seconds, I hear the gravel crunch under boots. But when I look, there's nothing. Breathing intensifies. I thought I saw my reflection in the windshield, but it smiled before I did. Pause, muttered, I'm not controlling my hands anymore. That's when the video cuts off, or rather distorts beyond recovery. The log file from his dash recorder ends abruptly at 12:42 a.m. The truck was last seen cruising eastbound, but what's disturbing is how it was found. 2 days later, local police found Randy's rig parked clean and empty at a rest stop outside. Lincoln, no sign of struggle. No Randy, his gear, wallet, even half a sandwich all still there. Engine cold. Doors locked from the inside. One officer noted that every mirror side, visor rear had been shattered from within and scratched into the steering wheel. Carved deep by fingernail or knife were the words, "Stop looking back," a week after. That another driver claimed to hear a voice over Channel 19. It was faint but unmistakable. Breaker. Breaker, whiskey dog reporting in. Can't stop ... mirrors all gone. Still behind me. Then silence. Some people say it was just a hoax. Others claim it was someone messing around with old CB recordings, but a tech at the dispatch office made an unsettling discovery. When he played the CB logs backward, yes, backward, he found an extra voice layered under Randy's own, quieter, whispering in sync, saying, "The driver is not the vessel. The vessel is not the driver. We're both behind the eyes." Since then, a few other truckers have reported similar experiences, always at night, always along that same stretch between Kearney and Lincoln, mirrors fogging up without warning. Passengers glimpsed in reflections who weren't there when turned to. One man even ripped his mirrors clean off his rig with a crowbar. Said he wouldn't haul another load if he could see his own eyes staring back from the glass dot. So what happened to Randy Mercer? Nobody knows, but his rig still sits in a police impound lot in Nebraska. The engine won't turn. The batter is fully charged, but it won't crank. As if something doesn't want it to leave dot, and every time an officer tries to move it, they swear they hear static just for a second coming from the CB, even when it's off dot, and once, according to one tech ... The voice said, "I'm still here. I just needed a driver." This one doesn't come from a voicemail or a driver's logbook. It comes from an internal report leaked from a state highway investigation and a man who walked into a police station, barefoot, mumbling about walls that breathed like lungs. The location was Rest Stop 66, just off I-70 in Colorado, near the border of Utah. A quiet pull-off with a single row of bathrooms, 2 vending machines, and a broken payphone that still hums when you pick it up. Most people never notice it. They drive by, stretch their legs, and keep moving. But over the last 80 months, 5 truckers disappeared there. One survived, and what he said turned a maintenance complaint into something ... darker. The survivor's name was Jeremy Cole, 42, long-haul independent hauler from Kansas. On March 7th, 2022, he stumbled into a 24-hour diner 11 miles east of Rest Stop 66, naked, eyes bloodshot, arms covered in fresh scratch marks and strange, circular burns that looked like skin blisters forming in patterns. He was holding a paper towel rolled from the Rest Stop bathroom, tight in both hands like a lifeline. It was completely dry. He refused medical help, demanded a pen and paper, and wrote a single sentence, "Don't go install 4. To understand why anyone took him seriously, you have to go back to the first disappearance, July 3rd, 2021. A driver named Raul Fernandez pulled over at Rest Stop 66 around 2 a.m. GPS logs showed he was hauling tools to a Denver construction site. His LD clocked him resting for 33 minutes. Then ... nothing. No movement. No calls. No signs of distress. Troopers found his truck parked and locked. Keys in the ignition. Wallet untouched. Cab pristine, but Raul was gone. No tire tracks. No blood. No signs of struggle, just his boots sitting neatly by the restroom door. The next year, the same thing happened 4 more times. All drivers, all male, all between 30 and 50 years old. Each one pulled into rest stop 66 in the early hours of the morning. Each one used the restroom, according to time-stamped CCTV. None walked out. Local officials chalked it up to voluntary disappearances, mental breakdowns, or undocumented detours. But there were strange details buried in the reports. One officer noted that the security footage glitched, but only when pointed at stall 4. Time would skip, lighting would flicker, and in one case, the footage looped 11 seconds of silence over and over for nearly an hour before returning to normal. Still, the case remained cold until Jeremiah. Here's what we know from his statement, which he gave 3 days after being sedated and stabilized. Jeremiah had been hauling machine parts from Reno to Kansas City. He stopped at rest stop 66 for a bathroom break around 2:40 a.m. He remembers the date because his wife texted him about their daughter's school recital. He had no reason to be afraid. He entered the restroom, saw that stalls 1 through 3 were occupied, doors closed, no sounds, so he chose stall 4. He shut the door, locked it, sat down. That's when things started to change. First, the air got thick, like humidity, but without heat. He said he could taste it, like copper and spoiled milk. Then the light overhead flickered. Then silence. Total silence. Not just the absence of noise, the compression of it. As if the room had swallowed sound completely, he looked up and realized that the light above him wasn't flickering. It was pulsing like a heartbeat. He stood up, tried the door, locked as expected. But the gap under the stall door had disappeared. Just a solid wall now. He banged on it, kicked, screamed, nothing. That's when the walls began to change. He described them as stretching. The tiled surface bulged inward like rubber under pressure. Lines moved beneath it, slow and purposeful, like something alive was crawling on the other side of the tile, and then a shape formed in the wall. A handprint. From the inside, he could see it clearly, 5 fingers pressing through tile, like it was fabric, scraping, searching. He backed into the opposite wall and felt it give behind him, like leaning into thick gelatin. It was cold and wet. Then came the voices. Whispers at first, words he couldn't understand. Not English, not human. Like insects rubbing their legs together, high-pitched and rhythmic. But then the words became clear. You're inside now. It remembers you. He doesn't remember what happened after that. Jeremiah woke up hours later in the parking lot, naked, burned, bloodied, alone. According to hospital scans, his body was covered in small, symmetrical bruises, especially around his ribs, spine, and neck, almost like restraints. But there were no signs of drugs, alcohol, or head trauma, just extreme dehydration, elevated cortisol, and tissue swelling around the temples. He didn't hallucinate. His body reacted as if he'd endured a prolonged state of terror. Police returned to rest stop 66 immediately. Stall 4 was empty, clean, but when a health inspector drilled a small hole behind the stall wall to check for mold or damage, he hit something soft, wet, and when he pulled the bit out, it was coated in a dark red mucus-like film. The sample was sent to a lab. It wasn't mold, and it wasn't paint. It was organic. Tissue. Living tissue. Unidentifiable. That part never made it to the news. The lab's report was sealed. The restroom was quietly closed for maintenance and never reopened, but the rest stop wasn't shut down. In fact, it's still there. No signs. No warnings. And the men who disappeared? Their names were added to missing persons registries and quietly forgotten. Jeremiah Meanwhile, stopped driving. He moved in with his brother in Kansas and refused to talk to anyone for months. When he finally did speak, he said one thing that chilled the detective assigned to his case. They're still inside it. When asked who, he simply said the other drivers. One more thing. A few weeks after Jeremir's release, he received a package. No return address, no postage. Just an unmarked padded envelope left on his doorstep at night. Inside was a small, black and white photo, grainy, faded. It showed the interior of stall 4. Not the room itself, but something deeper. The walls peeled back like open ribs, and inside, 5 human figures, curled, kneeling, merged into the tissue. Mouths open and silent screams. In the corner of the photo, scribbled in pen, IT only opens for truckers. So if you ever find yourself driving through Colorado in the dead of night and your eyes start to feel heavy, and your GPS tells you the next rest stop is only a mile away, make sure you check the number on the bathroom stalls, and whatever you do. If the others are full, don't single quotes T, go into stall 4. Not unless you're ready to leave part of yourself behind, forever. This one's been floating around trucker circles for decades. It's not filed in any police report or case log. You won't find it in local news archives or dashcam compilations. It's not about a missing driver or a haunted stretch of highway. It's about a convoy, not a normal one. Not a CB-coordinated bunch of rigs headed to the same drop. This one doesn't show up on GPS, doesn't respond to chatter, doesn't even drive with headlights. They call it the candlelight convoy. And truckers who've seen it don't talk about it for long. Some deny it outright. Others swear by it, but they all say the same thing. You don't find the convoy. It finds you when you're most alone. I first heard about it at a way station in Tennessee. This old-timer named Wallace sat down next to me with a bad limp and a look in his eyes like something was always just behind him. He didn't talk much, but after a while, when the rain started coming down hard and the station emptied out, he leaned toward me and said, "Ever hear the wheels without engines?" I didn't know what he meant, so he told me. Said it happened years ago, back when he was hauling furniture out of Atlanta. It was a night haul, uneventful. He was somewhere along Route 19 near the North Carolina border. Fog was thick, CB was quiet, and he was hours from the next stop. That's when he saw them in the rear view, old trucks. Real old, like 1940s, maybe early 50s. Rounded fenders, open grills, huge chrome mirrors, all in a neat little line. Maybe 5 or 6 of them, but the weird thing? No headlights, no running lights, nothing. Just a faint orange glow flickering from inside each cab, like candlelight. He pulled over to let them pass. They didn't. They followed. No sound. No rumble, just tires on wet pavement. He rolled down the window. No. Engine noise. Nothing but the whisper of wind and the soft flicker of flame. He tried to radio in. No answer. Dead channel. Then he blinked, and the road changed. He swore up and down that the fog lifted for just a second, and the trees were different. Taller, tighter, like they were watching him. No signs. No mile markers. Just that same winding road, and the trucks behind. Him. Closer now. Wallace said he doesn't remember how long he drove like that. Time didn't make sense anymore. He stopped watching the clock. Just kept going forward, afraid to look back too long. Eventually, one of the candlelit trucks moved. Up beside him. Matched his speed perfectly. He turned real slow and looked through the passenger window, and what he saw still haunts him. It wasn't a driver. Not exactly. It was a figure, hunched, skeletal, wrapped in old clothes soaked with what looked like tar or oil. Eyes glowing. Faint orange like hot embers. No lips, just teeth. and a hand pressed against the inside of the glass dot, not reaching out. Just resting there, Dot Wallace blinked again, and the road was empty. Just like that, convoy gone. No fog. Stars overhead. He was back en route, 19, but his dash clock said 4 hours had passed. Most folks would have written Wallace off as tired or crazy. But then I heard a similar story from a woman named Claire in Nevada, and another from a guy in West Virginia. Different states, different years, different people, same trucks. Same candlelight, same road that doesn't match the map. It always happens at night. And always when the driver is alone. No. Here's the part that turns legend into something darker. A young driver named Danny Rhodes went missing in 2017. Final route log showed him on I-80 heading west through Wyoming. He had been behind the wheel for 9 hours, not illegal, but stretching it. Dispatch said he was trying to make a delivery early and beat the snowstorm. His last transmission scrambled, but fragments were recovered. I didn't follow them, just past me, no lights, candlelight. Not normal, where the hell am I? Then the signal cut out. His truck was found 3 days later. Empty, doors locked, cargo untouched, but the tires were worn down all the way to the steel, like he'd driven hundreds of miles, past his route, through back roads that shouldn't have existed, and carved into the inside of his windshield, deep, deliberate gouges. Were 3 words, stay in line. Some say the candlelight convoy is a test, a spiritual trial for truckers on the brink. You follow it, you don't come back the same. Or you don't come back at all. Others say it's a kind of collection, that the trucks in the convoy were once like yours, driven by people who saw something they weren't meant to. Now they roll forever, never unloading, never stopping, just glowing quietly in the dark, looking for the next rig to pull in, looking for you. There are patterns to it, though. Rules, if you believe the stories. It only appears between 1 o'clock and 4 a.m., the dead stretch. When most sane folks are sleeping, it never passes. If you pull over, it waits. If you stop, it stops. Don't leave your cab, ever, the second. You step out, the road becomes something else. If you follow it, you better stay in line. Deviate, and you're gone. If you survive, you'll be marked. They say those who escape the convoy wake up with something new, a burn mark. A small brand, usually behind the ear or near the spine. It's faint, circular, looks like a wheel inside a triangle. Sound familiar? It should. Wallace had it, Claire had it. And when Danny's mother was interviewed 2 years later, she mentioned something odd. He'd started scratching behind his neck weeks before he disappeared. Said it burned when he was tired. She never thought much of it. Until she found the same mark in her dreams. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to see those trucks. To watch them glide through the dark, glowing like a funeral procession from another time. And then I remember what Wallace told me before he left that night. Don't mistake silence for safety. Some roads are quiet because nothing human drives them anymore. He never drove after dark again, sold his rig, bought a used pickup, never crossed state lines, and every year on October 13th, the date he saw them, he leaves a candle burning in his front yard, not because he's scared, but because they might be watching, and he wants to let them know. He remembers. So if you're ever out past midnight, engine humming, CB quiet, and you start seeing old rigs behind you, silent, flickering, following your pace, don't panic, don't break, and whatever you do, don't fall out of line. They say the road changes you, that if you spend enough time with nothing but white lines and engine noise, the silence starts talking back. I used to laugh at that. I don't laugh anymore. This happened to me in 2021. I just switched companies. Better pay, flexible hauls, mostly long-distance overnight contracts. The kind of gig where you haul alone, no questions, no coworkers, just you and the rig. Perfect for someone like me. Or so I thought. My third month in, I got dispatched for a 2-night run from Montana to a warehouse near Redding, California. I was ahead of schedule after the first leg and decided to take a lesser known bypass route through a mountain region, supposedly scenic, clear at night, and a solid hour faster. It was listed on some old checking forums. A few guys had said they used it in the early 2000s before stricter GPS regulations rolled in. Big mistake, because whatever that road was, I don't think it was meant for people like us. The first 30 miles were normal. 2-lane highway, smooth grade, a few deer signs here and there, no signal, no GPS rerouting. I was relying entirely on the directions I'd printed out like it was. 1,999. Then I noticed something weird. No mile markers, no road signs at all. Just trees, thick pine forest pressing in close on both sides like walls. I told myself it was just rural. Some areas don't get much signage, but then I passed a mailbox, just one. Standing alone in the woods, no driveway. No house, no light. The name was worn off, completely rubbed away. But below it, someone had spray painted a single word in red. Listen. I didn't get it at first. Just thought it was vandalism. But it stuck with me. Made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't explain. I cranked up the CB to distract myself. Nothing but static. So I put on some music and tried to ignore how wrong the forest felt. Like it wasn't just dark. It was expecting something. An hour. And I saw headlights in the distance. Relieved, I slowed a little, expecting a passing car, but it wasn't moving. Just one pair of dim amber lights, flickering at a standstill about half a mile ahead. I figured it was another trucker pulled over, maybe engine trouble. So I eased up. But when I got closer, the lights vanished, not turned off. Vanished. Like flipping a switch on nothing, and in. Their place was just the road. No shoulder, no tire tracks. No vehicle. Gone. Now, I'm not a guy who spooks easy. But something about that moment made my hands tremble on the wheel. The worst part? I kept driving for another hour, and the road didn't change. Same curves, same trees, no turns, no towns, no exits. Like I was driving the same mile over and over. Eventually, I pulled over. Had to pee and stretch. That's when I saw the second mailbox. Same exact spot on the opposite side of the road. Same red spray paint, but this time the word was different. Remember. And now I was sweating. Was it a prank? Had I looped back somehow? I checked my odometer. It showed 70 miles traveled since the first mailbox. I should have been almost out of the forest by now. I turned around, drove 10 miles back the way I came. Same. Trees, same bends. No mailbox. No sign of the way I'd entered. Just more black trees and asphalt. And then I saw it again. The first mailbox. Listen. Panic started creeping in. I stopped again, got out, walked into the woods with my flashlight, calling. Out. Nothing. No wind. No bugs. No animals. Just thick, quiet forest. And a feeling like something was standing behind me every time I blinked. I got back in and floored it. Drove straight through the night. No music, no radio. Just tires on pavement and my own shallow breathing. And then came the third mailbox. This one wasn't even subtle. It stood in the middle of the road, perfectly centered, big and rusted. The red painted word said, "Obey." I slammed the brakes. Looked around. No houses, no driveways, no other vehicles, and no way around it. I got out, fully expecting someone to jump out and scream, but no one came. I tried to push the mailbox over. Wouldn't budge. I kicked it. Nothing. It was like trying to move a tree. And then I heard something. The unmistakable click of a camera shutter. Once, twice, 3 times, coming from behind the trees. I didn't look. I ran back to the cab and thought, the hell out of there, Dot. By now I was desperate. I didn't care where I was. I just wanted off that road, Dot, so I slowed and took the next unmarked turn I saw. Even though it wasn't on my map, gravel kicked up behind me as I bounced down what looked like an old service road. The forest got thinner. I saw light dim orange light ahead. Maybe a building. Dot. Hope surged. I rounded the corner and slammed the brakes. There was a house, small wooden cabin style. Looked abandoned, but a single candle burned in the window, and next to the front porch, a mailbox, but this one had no word, just a mirror nailed to the front. I got out. I don't know why. Maybe I was delirious. Maybe I thought there was someone inside who could help, but when I looked into that mirror, I didn't see myself. I saw my truck. Dot. Parked. Dot. On fire, and someone or something sitting in the cab. Dot. Smiling. Dot. I lost time after that. Dot. I woke up at a diner 2 states away. Dot. At a booth, coffee in front of me. My rig parked outside. Dot. Everything intact. No fire, no candle. Dot. But when I got back in the cab, the passenger seat was soaked. Dot. Like someone had sat there, dripping wet. Dot. And in the center of the seat was a small metal mailbox flag, painted red. I tried reporting what happened, but no one took me seriously. Said I probably fell asleep, hallucinated, or imagined it from highway fatigue. I believe that too. If the route still existed, but I went back later, months later. I searched. There's no bypass through those woods. Dot. No cabin, no forest road. No record of it anywhere, like it was there just once. For me. Dot. And here's the final piece that haunts me. Dot. I started seeing them again. The mailboxes. Dot. Not out there, here. In the real world. Dot. One on a sidewalk in Nevada with Listen. Scratched faintly into it. Dot. Another behind a gas station in Utah. Dot. One in the window of a thrift store in Oregon. Each time I see one, the truck shakes a little. My CB fuzzes, and when I check the mirror for just a split second, I see myself. Dot. Driving. Dot. Alone. Dot. But with someone sitting beside me. Some roads never leave you. And some passengers don't need a door to get in. Dot. So if you're ever on a route you don't recognize, if your map shows nothing, if the trees seem too still, and you pass a mailbox that wasn't there before, don't stop. Don't obey. Don't look in the mirror. And whatever you do. Dot. Tinkle cut. Forget what you saw, because the road never does. My uncle was a trucker, been on the road 30 years. The kind of man who never missed a route, never called in sick, and kept to himself. Quiet, reliable, always wore a flannel. Always answered his phone on the first ring, until last February. He didn't show up for a delivery run in Nebraska. Everyone thought it was a simple miscommunication. His rig had GPS. The company tracked it for dispatch purposes, and everything looked normal. Until at WICE single quotes T. Dot, the tracker showed him stopping just outside a town called Cara Bend, a place that doesn't exist on any modern map. And his last check-in was 3:17 a.m., timestamped on a dashcam file, emailed to me automatically through a backup system he set up for emergencies. I don't know why he set it up. I don't know how he knew he'd need it, but that file ruined my life. Dot. At first, I didn't even want to watch it. I assumed it was a glitch, but my curiosity got the better of me, and I played the dashcam video on my laptop. It was around 16 minutes long, grainy, nighttime, typical lonely road. Windshield wipers squeaking over dirty glass, but there was something wrong with the audio. No engine noise, no cab rattling, just static. Almost like something was filtering the sound, flattening it. Dot. Then came the voice, not my uncle's, a voice layered beneath the static. Dot. Female, calm, whispers, repeating one Word over and over, rewind. I checked the time bar. It hadn't moved dot, it was stuck at 3:17. The footage didn't make sense. He's driving, but the scenery isn't changing. Same fence posts, same road markers, over and over. As if the truck was stuck in a loop. Then I noticed something out the window, a figure standing by the side of the road, wearing white, not moving. He passes it dot 10 seconds later, another one. Same place dot, then again dot, and each time it's closer to the truck. I tried fast forwarding the file. It didn't work. The button clicked, but the footage stayed frozen. Still 3:17, still looping dot then for exactly 1 second. The camera glitched. End. I saw my uncle's face in the rear view, but it wasn't right. His mouth was open too wide, like he was screaming. But there was no sound, and his eyes, they weren't looking at the road. They were staring into the camera dot at me dot. That was the first video dot. The next day, I received a second file. This one was 9 seconds long. It showed a gravel lot, poorly lit by truck headlights. An old trailer home surrounded by junk cars and a chain-link fence. In the corner of the frame, a wooden sign barely hanging from a rusted pole. The words were hard to read, but I paused the frame and enhanced it the best I could. Carabin Trading Post. No GPS data dot, no METAD time. 3:17 a.m. dot again dot that night. My phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer, but it left a voicemail 7 minutes long. All static dot except for a single moment right in the middle. A sound like metal scraping. Pavement dot and breathing. Labored. Heavy. Wrong. I tried showing the videos to the police. They weren't interested. Said there was no evidence of anything criminal. His rig had never left the main highway, according to satellite. They even showed me footage of him pulling into a diner hours after the last video timestamp. But I know what I saw, and I know what happened next, because I started seeing him on the side of the road, not his truck. Him dot always at 3:17 in the morning dot first time. I thought it was my mind playing tricks. Driving home from a late shift, I saw someone standing on the shoulder near my neighborhood, wearing a flannel shirt dot, same boots, same walk. He raised one arm, not to wave, but to point toward my car. I didn't stop, but later that night, I got a third file dot. It was from a different camera angle. Inside the cab this time dot, my uncle's eyes were bloodshot. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. He looked tired, hollow, like something had drained him. Then he turned the camera toward the passenger seat dot, empty dot, but he stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered something, barely audible under the digital distortion. She gets closer when you forget. The video ended. Over the next week, the files kept coming, shorter, glitchier, more corrupted. They showed impossible things, roads bending upward into the sky, traffic lights that blinked in Morse code, reflections in the side mirrors that didn't match the world outside dot, and always that timestamp, 3:17 a.m. I stopped sleeping. My face got pale. I couldn't concentrate dot. One night I woke up in my truck. I don't remember getting in it. The engine was running, and the radio was playing his voice, saying my name, repeating it, until the battery died. I drove out to Nebraska the next week. I had to know. I went to the stretch of highway near where the GPS signal vanished. I parked, walked along the grass shoulder with my flashlight. Then I saw it, a mile marker with the number scratched off. Behind it, barely visible in the trees, an old gravel path. I followed. It led to a clearing dot, empty dot, but the ground had deep indentations. Tire tracks, big ones dot, and beside them, a boot dot, his boot dot, and a black box dot. It looked like a truck's dash cam hard drive, the kind used for backups. It had one label, scrawled in faded ink, DON look back. I took it, drove home, and when I plugged it in, there were no video files, only text, hundreds of documents, thousands of words, all the same line. She follows the ones who remember. Over and over and over again, I tried to delete them. The files reappeared. I burned the drive, smashed it with a hammer. It didn't matter. That night, my computer turned itself on. The desktop background was replaced with a still image of the passenger. Seat occupied by a woman in white, head tilted, grinning no eyes, just deep black pits. I don't leave the house much now. Sometimes my doorbell rings at 3:17 a.m. When I check the camera feed, there's no one there, but the footage always shows the same thing: a gravel lot, an empty trailer, a broken sign that reads Caro, then and static always static. I've learned not to respond not to play the videos anymore, but sometimes I wake up with dirt on my boots and my emails show I've sent messages to addresses I don't recognize. With video files attached in those files. They're dashcam footage, but not his mine and in them. I'm not driving. I'm in the passenger seat, watching myself through a mirror. That isn't reflecting anything. So if you ever get a file you didn't ask for, with no sender, no explanation, and the time says 3:17 a.m., don't open it, don't play it. And for the love of God, don't remember, because she's real. And the more you know, the closer she gets. I've been driving trucks for 12 years. Long hauls, mostly cross-country stuff. You get used to a lot of things on the road. The silence, the endless horizon, the occasional weird rest stop. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened that night off Route 42. Not because of what I saw, but because of what I began to forget. It started with a map. I'd been rerouted by dispatch because of flooding in Kansas. They told me to detour through a small mountain pass I'd never taken before. Some old state road marked only as C Road 17. My GPS blinked when I punched it in, then loaded a path. The line was jagged, crooked, not like a normal route. I thought it was just a glitch, but the voice on the GPS, it wasn't the usual robotic voice. This one was slow, human-sounding, a little too human. It said, turn left in 1 mile. Then, forget. I laughed. I swear I laughed. I thought it was a prank, a tech glitch. But then I looked around and realized I didn't remember how long I'd been driving. I didn't recognize the road. No signs. No mile markers. Nothing but trees and fog. The kind of fog that swallows your headlights. I thought maybe I'd taken. The wrong turn. So I pulled over. That's when I saw the hitchhiker. At first, I couldn't make out any features. He stood just beyond the fog line on the shoulder. Pale skin. Dark hoodie. No bag. Just staring at my truck. And something about him unsettled me. He didn't flag me down. Didn't move. Just watched. I flipped on my brakes. He didn't. Flinched. I rolled the window down slightly and shouted, "You okay?" He nodded. Then took one step closer. I don't know why, but I hit the gas. I didn't even think. Just something in my gut screamed leave. And as I sped off, I glanced in the mirror. He was smiling, that wide. Too wide smile that stretched his face into something that wasn't quite human. And in the fog behind him, I saw more figures. Just standing, all watching. 10 minutes later, I realized something else was wrong. I couldn't remember my name. I knew who I was, kind of. I remembered my rig, my route, my job. But my name, it was gone. Like a word stuck on the tip of your tongue that never comes. I pulled over again, heart racing. I checked my ID. It was blank, not scratched out, not smudged. Blank. Name, DOB, address. But my photo was there, smiling, that fake DMV smile. But in the picture, my eyes were wrong, looking off to the side. As if staring at something just outside the frame, I told myself I was overtired. Hallucinating, sleep-dashed, deprived Dot, I drove on, but the fog kept getting thicker. The road kept twisting. I saw the same broken fence 3 times. Past an overturned deer carcass I swear I'd seen before. My odometer reset itself twice. The clock froze at 2:46 a.m. and wouldn't budge. Then I saw the diner, just sitting there in the mist. Neon sign flickering weakly, EATS, no cars. No lights in the windows, but I pulled in anyway. I needed to ask someone where the hell I was. The bell above the door jingled, but the place was empty except for a woman behind the counter. She looked like she hadn't moved in hours. Pale, unblinking, she smiled, but it was mechanical. I asked her what town we were in. She said, "Welcome." Back. I said, "Back where?" She only smiled wider, and then she said, "You should have stayed forgotten." I left without another word. Ran to my rig. The sky was darker now, like night had folded in on itself. I drove as fast as I could, pushing. 90 around mountain curves I didn't recognize. The fog got thicker, and then it started whispering. No joke. The fog, the actual air, sounded like it was full of voices. Not words, exactly. Just murmurs. Like 1,000 people mumbling. Secrets at once. Then the static started. From the radio. From the CB. From my phone. Then a voice. My voice, saying things I wasn't saying. You were never real. She's erasing you. Forget. I threw the phone out the window, but the voice didn't stop. The next time I stopped, I checked my glove box. Inside was a receipt for gas, dated 3 days from now. The station's name was unfamiliar. The location, the loop. That's all it said. Just the loop. I called dispatch. Tried to explain what was happening, but they didn't recognize me. They said no one by my name worked there, that my truck ID didn't exist, that they hadn't assigned a run on Route 42 in over a year. I shouted at them. And the last thing the guy said before hanging up, "Look, man, I don't know who you think you are, but stop calling. People around here don't mention the loop, ever." Then dial tone. I kept driving, desperate to find an exit. A sign. Anything. Then the road. Change. Just blinked. 1 second, I was on a paved state highway. Next second, gravel. Cracked asphalt. Trees leaning over the road like they were trying to pull me in. My headlights caught movement. Shadows darting through the trees. And then I saw the sign. Welcome to the loop. Population 0. Don't remember much after that. Just pieces being pulled over by someone in a uniform that didn't have a name tag. Him asking me what year it was. Me unable to answer. Waking up in a truck that wasn't mine. Driving past a mirror nailed to a tree. Seeing nothing in the reflection. Arriving at the same diner again. Only this time, it was burned down. A charred ruin, but the woman was still inside, still smiling. I think I'm still driving, or maybe I've always been. Sometimes I see other truckers on the road. I flash my lights. They don't flash back. I honk. No response. Sometimes I pass a sign that says exit 42, but when I turn off, I end up back where I started. Always back to the sign. Welcome to the loop. I've met others here, or I think I have. One guy said he came in through a detour back in 1983. Another claimed it was 1969 when he entered. None of us remember how old we are anymore. None of us remember our real names, but we all remember her. The woman behind the counter, the smile, the eyes that don't blink. The way she always says, "Welcome back." We think she's part of the road. Or maybe she is the road. I found a notebook in the cab last week. It's not mine. The first page read, "You can leave the loop, but it takes a trade. You must forget someone else, and they'll take your place." The last line, If you remember yourself, she finds you. I don't know if it's true, but last night I woke up and couldn't remember my brother's face. This morning, someone new was here. Young guy, terrified. He said he got a weird GPS reroute, and I realized the loop had made its trade. If you're hearing this, if this somehow made it out, don't follow detours on Route 42 dot don't single quotes T. Trust your GPS if it talks in full sentences. And if you stop at a diner in the fog and someone says, "Welcome back," turn around, even if you don't know where you came from, because forgetting is easy. And once you forget, she remembers you.